Now, what does this tell us? This person of the second level, when it comes to his fasting, he's remembered all these ahadith. He's remembered fasting is not just about leaving food and drink and desires. But fasting is what Allah said in the Quran. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting is prescribed on you just as it was prescribed on those before you, so that you may attain piety, so that you may be conscious of Allah always, 24/7. This is the purpose of fasting. So if a person is leaving and his food and his drink and his desires, and he doesn't even approach them, all of us know, you have your Muslims, you have the ones who pray very rarely, and that is a major sin. And some even say abandoning some of the prayers or abandoning the prayer completely takes you outside of Islam. Such a major sin. But when it comes to fasting, even such a person, he wouldn't dream of taking food and putting it in his mouth, let alone swallow it. Not even a drop of water. You find how people are so careful when it comes to these issues. A person who is so conscious of Allah when it comes to his fasting, does it make sense that he commits other sins? This is not God consciousness. This is not being conscious of Allah. Being conscious that Allah is watching, Allah is recording everything that we do. Doesn't make sense. What kind of fast is this? So the Prophet ﷺ in these ahadith, he says to us, person who can't leave these actions, these grave sins, lying, false testimony, obscene language, obscene behavior. The one who doesn't actually fast for the sake of Allah, just fasting for the sake of people. Custom. It's a custom for the people to be fasting in Ramadan, so he fasts. His intention is not to please Allah. He's getting nothing from it. He goes to the masjid in Ramadan and he prays with the people, yes. But when it comes to his prayer, he's not concentrating. He's just moving up and down. More than being worshipped, he treats it like a mundane task. He treats it like something he's oblivious to. He treats it like a custom. There's no reward in that. What is he getting from this? He's becoming tired and staying up at night, losing sleep. What is he getting from his fasting? The Prophet ﷺ said it. I didn't say it. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the one whom we take our deen from, he said it. So fasting is much more than leaving food and drink. So this is the specific fast which Ibn Rajab is talking about, the second category, the level of Iman. And he also says, for this person who is going to reach this level in his fasting, and we should all at least try to aim for this. This is where the reward comes. This is where Allah saves people from the hellfire. Mere outward actions don't save people from the hellfire. They save you from punishments in this dunya. They save you from blame in this dunya, but they won't save you in the hereafter. They won't get you any reward. When it comes to fasting for reward with Allah, to be free from the hellfire, then it is the state of Iman, emanating from the heart. Then the actions follow. In this, he also mentions that this kind of person, remembering the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which the Prophet ﷺ says, the worst thing that a human being can fill is his belly. It is enough for Ibn Adam to take enough food for him so that he can stand up straight, so that he can sustain himself and do the things that he needs to do. If he can't resist, then at the most, the maximum he should do is a third for his food, a third for his water, and a third so that he can breathe, a third of air. Hadith, many of the Ahl Sunan, they narrated this hadith, and Hakim as well. Now, what does he say about this? Ibn Rajab goes on to explain, right, if this person, he has been fasting all day, the reason for his fasting was to attain this piety, attain taqwa, attain consciousness of Allah by taking away from himself food and drink, decreasing his desires by doing that, not allowing shaitan to tempt him with desires. Then he comes to night time, he comes to iftar, and then he forgets about the taqwa that he was meant to be achieving, and he fills himself up with food. He's totally forgotten about the purpose of Ramadan. And now he's going to pray Taraweeh. when he fills himself up with food, and I'm sure we've done it on occasion. Okay? We've all done it on occasions. You go to Taraweeh, you go to the masjid, and rather than hear what the Imam saying, your head starts to nod and you're struggling to keep awake, let alone concentrate on what's being said. So Ibn Rajab is saying, the one who's reaching this level, he remembers the point of fasting. At iftar, outside of iftar. So he remembers, right, I'm going to eat enough for me to stand up and concentrate in salah, and I'm not going to go beyond that, because the reason for Ramadan is to attain taqwa. It is not to attain taqwa during the day and then forget about it in the evening. And then if he eats so much, he's going to start feeling sleepy and lazy, because this is what excess food brings, laziness and sleep, excess sleep. And then he also remembers this when it comes to suhoor. Why is that? Because the nights are meant to be for worship. Now, if you're going to worship at night, you're going to need to take some rest during the day. But the days of Ramadan are special, so we shouldn't be making them like normal days. If a person fills himself at suhoor, fills his belly so there's no space, then you'll find, Ibn Rajab says, he'll probably be sleeping until the afternoon, so most of the day's gone, and he won't feel the fast. So then where's the taqwa that he's meant to be getting from fasting? He doesn't even sense half of the fasting, or most of the fasting. So where's the piety going to be attained? It's not worth it. So Ibn Rajab says, this kind of person, he doesn't overeat, whether it be at maghrib, at iftar, or suhoor. He remembers the taqwa, the consciousness of Allah, all the time. Then he moves to the third and final, the pinnacle of fasting. He says this is the most specific of the fasting. This is the heart abstaining from everything that makes it love and crave the dunya. So he stays away from all of that. The heart stays away from it. If the heart stays away from it, then the whole body follows. Not only this, when it comes to things that don't benefit in the hereafter, you find this heart is the one that doesn't get involved in any of the things that won't benefit in the hereafter. There might be mubah, but if they don't benefit him in the hereafter, because he's attaining this taqwa, the highest level, he doesn't even get involved in those. He doesn't waste his time. طيب, there's many ahadith that I would like to mention, but I'm looking at the time and I'm conscious of time. The Prophet ﷺ said, fasting is a shield with which the servant protects himself from the fire. Hadith of Ahmad. Fasting is a shield. It defends you against the hellfire. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, there is no slave that fasts a single day in the path of Allah, for the sake of Allah, except that he is distanced from the hellfire 70 years. Now, times 30 days by 70. Who would not like that distance between them and the hellfire? Simple. Fast every day of Ramadan. Don't miss any day of fasting. The Prophet ﷺ, Abu Umama radiallahu anhu, he comes to him and he says, Ya Rasulullah, tell me about an action that I can do. Advise me of some really good action, special action. The Prophet ﷺ says to him, fast. Because there's nothing like fasting. For developing taqwa, to get close to Allah, there's nothing like it, so fast. The Prophet ﷺ picks this action for Abu Umam radiallahu anhu. We know that famous hadith, those of you who can't get married, what should they do? They should fast. Why? فَإِنَّهُ وِجَاء. Fasting is a shield. It protects a person. The final hadith in this issue, the Prophet ﷺ says a very important thing for us. He says, الصيام والقرآن يشفعان للعبد. Fasting and the Quran, they intercede with Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah. When everyone's looking for someone to intercede and to protect him from the punishment of Allah, fasting will come and the Quran will come. Fasting will come and it will say, oh Allah, I prevented him from his desires, from his food, from his drink. So let me intercede on his behalf. Quran will come. Oh Allah, I prevented him from sleep at night. So allow me to intercede on his behalf. And Allah gives them permission. Hadith of Ahmad al-Hakim and Shaykh al-Albani authenticated it. Rather, he hassanahu. He said it's hasan.